Hello, this short screencast is about how to create a compelling question. In U.S. history, the first power standard reads, create compelling questions representing key ideas within the disciplines. To understand what this standard is asking us to do, we will look at its two parts, creating a compelling question and representing key ideas in the disciplines. To understand what a compelling question is, we must first understand that history is about questions, not answers. The historical process is about asking questions about the past and using those questions to drive our work forward. Historians then use primary and secondary sources to learn more about the past and then use that knowledge to answer their questions. What usually ends up happening is that we have even more questions with the answers we've created and the process begins again. So now that we understand the historical process, what is a compelling question? Compelling questions have three parts. First, they are focused on big ideas. These ideas can apply to multiple events or time periods. They help us understand things on a deeper level. Second, they are intellectually challenging. To answer these questions, we need to research and understand multiple sources. Third, they are open-ended and don't have just one right answer. Different people could look at the same evidence and come to different answers to the same question. The second part of the standard focuses on key ideas within the disciplines. For the purpose of this screencast and your class, we will focus on the discipline of history. There are four key ideas in history. The first one is significance. Did this historical event really impact the course of history? Our second one is cause and effect. What led to a historical event and what resulted from that event? Our third one is continuity and change. How did things stay the same and how did they change because of the historical event? And finally, our fourth one is perspective. What are the different points of view of a historical event? So, then how do I create a compelling question? First, you need to ask yourself some questions. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what do I already know about the topic? Then you need to ask yourself, what do I wonder about the information that I know? And then finally, you need to ask yourself, how can I turn these wonders into compelling questions? In this screencast, we're going to create a compelling question around World War II. We want to start off by thinking about what we already know about World War II. For the sake of brevity, I will only list three things. I know that World War II was fought between the Allies and the Axis powers. I know that it lasted 6 years from 1939 to 1945. And I know that it resulted in approximately 40 million civilians dying. When you create your list about your topic, you'll probably have a much longer one. Our next question asks us to be reflective about what we know. It is the very nature of being human that we ask questions. Embrace this. Allow yourself to brainstorm all sorts of questions about what you know regarding a topic. You will eventually come up with one that you'd like to answer. For example, we'll choose this one. Why did so many people die in the war? Now, we have to see if our wonder meets the three parts of a compelling question. Part 1. Is it a big idea in history? Well, no, it really isn't. It's specific to World War II, and it doesn't really help us understand the war on a deeper level. Our second question is, does it connect to a key idea in history? Well, it really doesn't do that either. We cannot understand the significance of World War II by just answering this question. Nor can we understand the causes and effects of the war. We are not able to see any of the changes or continuity associated with the war, and lastly, it doesn't help us better understand different perspectives about the war. Our third question, is it intellectually challenging? This question is not. A quick Google search can answer this question. Here's a pro tip. If Google can answer your question in the first couple of links, it's probably not a compelling question. So then how can I turn my wonder into a compelling question? Well, first, can I connect my question to a big idea? How can I use the key ideas of history to reframe my question? And what historical research will I have to do in order to answer my question? In order to connect to a big idea, it often helps to open up your question and make logical connections to new ideas. For example, our original wonder is why so many people died in the war. We can start with the truism, all wars kill people. Then we can relate that truism back to World War II, that it was the deadliest war in history. Sometimes, introducing opposite ideas can help your thinking. For example, World War II is considered by many people to be a, quote, good war. Yet, death is something that is generally considered to not be a good thing. So how could something that caused so many people to die be good? Now, I think we're getting somewhere here. Please note, this is not an easy process. It takes a while to master it, and working with someone else to bounce ideas off of can sometimes help your thinking. Next, can we connect our question to a key idea? I think there are two connections with what we've been thinking about. First, we can connect our thinking to significance. Something that causes more death than any other war is sure to be significant. Another key idea connection could be perspective. Does everyone believe that World War II was a good war? Could some people believe that it wasn't worth the cost in lives? Please note that we have made connections to two key ideas. You do not have to connect your question to all four key ideas. Finally, we need to ask ourselves what kind of research we would need to do in order to understand if World War II was a good war. We will need to find primary sources about how people viewed World War II deaths. We'll also need to find secondary sources that look at the impact of World War II deaths. And then we'll need to combine these sources into a well-supported argument that answers the question. So is this intellectually challenging? Absolutely it is. We could not find the answer with just a quick Google search. By going through this process, we took a rather simple wonder and turned it into an intellectually challenging big idea in history that could have more than one right answer. However, please do not be fooled into thinking that this is an easy process. It may be a struggle to create your own compelling question. However, if you follow this process, you should be able to do it. A final bit of advice is that you should always be willing to adjust your compelling question as you go along. You may find that your original compelling question is too narrow or too broad. Flexibility is the key to success here. If you have further questions or need help, please make sure to reach out to your teacher.